What's going on, goats? Today I will be breaking down my two trades taken on ES during New York. One was a break even and one was a winning trade. Let's first zoom out and break down the higher time frame. Simply put, I was looking at the 4-hour time frame and price was in bullish structure from this low up to this high. I noticed price came down into discount, so it made sense to start looking for buys in this area. What I did was I did look left to see what we were currently tapping into. Meaning, are we tapping into something random or are we tapping into a POI that I want to see? So here I kind of drew a little line, drew a box, and then started to zoom in to the lower time frames. Here I started to see basically nothing here. I said maybe on a lower time frame there might be a nice order block down here, but at the very least, right now I could potentially start to consider using the 1 hour breaker block right here. But let's continue going down to lower time frame and see what we can find. I believe I went down to the 15-minute and I noticed that technically there is a bullish engulfing candle right here. Price took out sell side liquidity. So this actually would be a high probability continuation order block to use. Whether I use this one or use the breaker, we can still see price is tapping into it either way. And this is what I teach usually a continuation is going to align with a breaker. Not always, but in this case, I would disregard the breaker and simply use the continuation order block. But once again, either one is valid. Now from here, the 15-minute is still technically bearish as price was maintaining bearish structure. Actually, I take that back because price actually broke above this 15-minute high. I don't think I actually noticed that in the beginning. But I did notice that price was starting to make these new 15-minute higher highs and higher lows. Again, these aren't technically structure points until price broke above here, but I was noticing that the 15-minute was showing willingness to go higher. I also went down to the 5-minute time frame, seeing price broke structure here, made a higher high, higher low, and then higher high. And then we had news here at about 8:30, excuse me, a.m. EST. So I drew up this order block, this last sell to buy move. Didn't use the doji because obviously it's a doji. So use that, but also we can see on the 15-minute time frame, nice bullish engulfing candle order block formation. So from here, I liked that order block. I allowed price to come down here, tap into it, and notice that price also was aligned with a discount. From this point, usually I want to see an M1 breaker structure, but if you notice, price actually broke underneath here. So I really can't use an M1 breaker structure because price just broke bearish. If anything, I would have to wait for price to break above this high and then look for a pullback to then long of some sort like that. So I decided to start to use the 1 minute internal structure. And as price was starting to form, I was getting a lot of wicks and I wasn't able to see many details using the M1 time frame. So I simply went down to the 15-second time frame and I noticed that price was giving me 15-second bullish structure as price was making higher highs and higher lows. At this point in time, I seen price hit a low to a high. I allowed price to pull back. I seen equal lows resting at the 50%. Once price swept these lows, I was willing to take a long, which is exactly where I took it, and had my stop loss underneath the 15-second low. Price went higher. This was looking pretty good, but it looks like price wanted to take out more sell side liquidity. Also, potentially wanted to fill this fair value gap resting down here as well. Either way, still had my stop loss underneath the entire structure low, the 50-second structure low, and allowed price to play out. As price was pushing on higher, making higher highs and higher lows, I was minimizing my risk by moving my stop loss until eventually price got above here and I did move my stop loss to break even. As price was pushing on higher, I did note that price was creating a lot of sell side liquidity in the form of a trend line. So I was hoping that price could quickly push away and maybe take out this sell side liquidity at a later time. But as you can see, price decided to come on lower and take that out. And basically, to the tick, price stopped me out, or technically went down one more tick as well to stop me out, hit my break even. And then at this point, I had to consider, is price potentially just taking out sell side liquidity to then push on higher, or is price invalidating my overall bias and wanting to push on lower? Well, I also did notice that price was compressing into this POI. And I did like this POI a lot because price took out sell side liquidity before pushing on higher. So I simply allowed price to tell me what it wanted to do. I said if price gives me a break of structure, I will be willing to take a long position. We have a structure high, down to low, creates equal highs, and then pops its head above. Yes, price does not close above, but it still gets above. So price pulls back, and at this point, I figured that price was not going to come on lower. If it was, most likely this low is not going to be protected um, either. Price was going to take all these lows. So I technically, if I really wanted to be a bit more conservative, I could have had my stop loss down here, but I decided to give it more so something around here. So once again, put it there because I did not anticipate price to um how do I word it? I thought if price were to break this low, we're going to break all the lows. So there's no reason to have my stop loss down here if price simply breaks this one. So I had something like that. 15-minute break structure, pull back, and then price push on higher, took a long here, and allowed price to play out. I feel like this wasn't my actual entry. It was 50, like that. Yeah, it was there. That's why I looked a little off. But either way, and allowed price to push on higher. At this point, I was simply shooting for a 1 to 4 RR, and I believe price closed me out about here. So I'm not too sure exactly where I put my stop loss. It might have been here to get that 1 to 4. Nonetheless, I was simply shooting for a 1 to 4 because if you notice over here, I was also shooting for a 1 to 4 RR like this, looking for price to make a new high. Here, I technically could have held a bit longer and caught this 1 to 6 ish RR play. But again, I was simply shooting for a 1 to 4, and then that's exactly how I caught this move right here. So the ultimate thing here is as I took this long position, price did hit my break even, but just because it hit your break even doesn't mean your analysis is invalid. Potentially, as you can see, price taps your break even and wants to continue pushing in the anticipated direction. If that happens, allow price to play out, see what it wants to tell you, read what price is telling you, and make a educated decision based off of that. So even when you get worked out, you can still find an opportunity for price to continue to go in your direction. Hopefully that makes sense. If you guys have any comments, questions, or concerns, please let me know. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.